Hello, everyone. My name is Shania Sanchez. I am the college counselor for the High School of Civil Rights. Today, I am presenting to you a PowerPoint named Financial Aid for College. So let's get started. So the first question that we ask ourselves is, what is financial aid? Financial aid includes all money that is offered and or received to help pay for college. So this includes FAFSA, TAP, loans, and scholarships, all of which we will be discussing today. Now, what do we need to file for financial aid? We need two important information. We need personal information, and we also need financial information. Personal information includes a student's social security number, one or both parent or guardian's social security number, and a permanent resident card if a student is not a US citizen. Some financial information that's needed is the parent tax return, New York State and federal from 2019, a copy of foreign tax return if parents live outside the US, student tax return if they filed taxes in the past, and records of untaxed income, and this includes forms of public assistance or Social Security benefits. Now, what is FAFSA? FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It is the biggest source of financial aid. Who should apply to FAFSA? Any student should apply to FAFSA as long as they are either a US citizen or they are a permanent resident. If a parent is not a US citizen or a permanent resident, a student is still eligible to apply. The only way a student is non-eligible to apply for FAFSA is if they are not a US citizen or a permanent resident. However, they can still apply to college. They can apply to private scholarships or other grants that are offered to them specifically. Now, what type of money can we expect from FAFSA? There are two types. We have the Pell Grant and we have student loans. So a Pell Grant is money given to a student that does not have to be paid back. The maximum amount FAFSA will award a student through a Pell Grant is $6,195. Now for FAFSA, they will also offer student loans, both subsidized and unsubsidized, and we'll talk a little bit about what that means later on in the presentation. The maximum amount of loan money FAFSA will offer a student is $5,500. Now, what is New York State TAP? TAP stands for the Tuition Assistance Program. It is only awarded to New York State residents going to New York State schools. It's free money as long as students maintain a 2.0 GPA. The maximum grant TAP can award is $5,165. Because TAP is a grant, it does not have to be paid back. Now we're going to talk a little bit about total cost of attendance. And this is considered the sticker price or cost before financial aid. And there's two of these costs. There's the direct costs and we have indirect costs. Direct costs would include tuition, mandatory fees, health service fees, and room and board if a student is deciding to live on campus. Indirect costs would include travel, books, supplies, and personal expenses. We have a couple examples as to what some cost of attendances would look like for certain colleges. So our first example would be CUNY Borough of Manhattan. It is a community college. This is the total cost of attendance for 2019 to 2020, living with a student who is deciding to live with their parent. The tuition here is $4,800. Room and board would be $0. Fees $167. Books and supplies estimated to be $1,000. Transportation estimated to be 372, and food and personal expenses estimated to be 1,000. So it's an estimated cost of 7,339. Our next example is also a CUNY school. It's CUNY Brooklyn College, and Brooklyn College is a four-year university. This is the total cost of attendance for 2019 to 2020, with a student who's also deciding to live at home with their parent. The tuition we see here is a little higher. It's 6,790. Room and board would be $0. Fees would be $253. Books and supplies would be an estimated 1,000. Transportation an estimated 372. Food and personal expenses an estimated 1,000, for an estimated total cost of attendance of 9,415. Our next example is a SUNY school. So we have SUNY University at Albany. The total cost of attendance for 2019 to 2020 of a student who decides to live on campus. So the tuition here is 6,670. Room and board is 8,782. Fees are 2,541. Books and supplies estimated to be 1,000. Food, we have mandatory meal plan is 5,100. Personal cost and travel 1,500. So the difference with this SUNY school is we see here that there is a mandatory meal plan that's associated or put into this total cost of attendance, and that is typical for students who are first years and second year college students deciding to live on campus. So we have an estimated total cost of attendance of 25,593. Our last example is Syracuse University. It is a private school. So this is also for a student who is deciding to live on campus. We see tuition here is 50,230. Housing and food is 15,550. Fees is 1,623. Books and supplies an estimated 1,000. Transportation 682. Personal cost 1,500. So the cost of attendance is significantly higher at 70,585. So where does this money for college come from? It first comes from the free application for federal student aid, which stands for, and which we call FAFSA. It is the most important financial aid application. All eligible students should file a FAFSA, and it will determine how much aid the government/colleges will provide and expected family contribution, if any. So the sources of aid that you'll see is federal government, New York State government, and the institution itself. So the financial aid application forms that are associated are FAFSA for the federal government, the tuition assistance program for the New York State government, and then both FAFSA and institutional forms as it relates to the institution itself. Types of aid distributed, if we're talking about FAFSA, it would be grants, loans, and work study. Now, work study is this opportunity for students to work on campus. FAFSA will have a reserve of money set aside for a student to work on campus, and the money is dispersed to them through their paychecks. We have grants that come from the tuition assistance program, and grants, loans, and scholarships that will come from the institution itself if offered. Now, before applying to FAFSA, parents and students must create an FSA ID to be able to sign the FAFSA and submit it. An FSA ID gives you access to federal student aid's online systems and act as your legal signature. It is essentially your login into your application. A very simple process that can be done way before the application is even started. So here we'll briefly touch on loans. We have our subsidized loans and unsubsidized loans. Our subsidized loans are awarded on the basis of financial need. Interest accrued while in school is paid by the government. The interest, which is 4.66%, starts accumulating 6 months after graduation. So for example, if you take out $20,000, you will be paying $25,000. With unsubsidized loans, student is responsible for the interest accrued while in school. It is the same interest rate as the subsidized loans, but it starts accumulating right after the loan is dispersed, which means that it'll start accruing while in school, and the student will still have to be responsible for that interest. Example, if you take out $20,000, you will be paying around $26,800. Then we have a Parent Plus loan. The interest rate is a bit higher at 7.21%. And the example is if you take out $20,000, you will be paying $28,000. And here we have our key takeaway. There is financial aid out there for all types of colleges. The least expensive are CUNY and SUNY, as we saw in the examples before. If students go to school in New York State, they can get up to $11,360 worth of free money for college. That is a significant amount, and it can be awarded on a yearly basis. So keep your 2019 tax return and other income information very close, because we will need it next year. When we send the family income forms home, please fill them out so we can best help you. Everyone's financial situation is different, and it's very important for us to have an understanding of what these financial circumstances look like, so we know best how to fill out the application and best to verify your information when FAFSA asks for it. And that is the end of my FAFSA presentation, or financial aid for college presentation. If you have any questions, you can always contact me at shanias@cypresshills.org. Thank you.